are in Egypt, fully deployed, combat ready, locked and loaded. All before September the 11th. Is this suspicious? I think so. September 6th through 7th, we have the 4,744 put options on United Airlines, CIA monitoring stock trading in real time. September 10th, 4,500 put options are purchased on American. September 6th through the 11th, no other airlines show any similar trading patterns to those experienced by UAL and American. The put option purchases on both airlines were 600% above normal. September 6th through 10th, put options on Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, AXA Reinsurance, and Munich Re. It has been documented, and I talked about this through the Promise software, that intelligence agencies routinely track the stock trading. And I'll tell you what I think, an opinion here, happened, is that someone at CIA told the head of A.B. Brown, and the head of A.B. Brown decided to make himself a little money on the side, and he got caught because the stock market was shut down because, well, we'll come to that in a second. General Mahmoud of the ISI, the guy that wired $100,000 to Mohammed Atta, the guy that had to be approved by the CIA, happened to be in Washington on September the 11th. He had arrived the week before. I think he was discussing war plans. That's from MSNBC. September the 11th, for 35 minutes from 8:15 a.m. until 9:05 a.m., with it widely known to the FAA and the military that 4 planes had been simultaneously hijacked and taken off course. No one notifies the President of the United States. It is not until 9:30 that any Air Force planes are scrambled to intercept, but by then it is too late. This means that the National Command Authority waited for 75 minutes before scrambling aircraft, even though it was known that 4 simultaneous hijackings had occurred, an event that has never happened in history. Sources: CNN, ABC, MSNBC, the Los Angeles Times, and the New York Times. And if you go to my website, you will see the beginning of a fabulous series of articles out of Canada. They've established clearly, using documents that have now been taken down off of U.S. Air Force websites, that it is a matter of routine policy on the FAA and the U.S. Air Force to scramble a jet the instant any airliner is hijacked without waiting for an order from the President.
What does that mean, scramble? I don't know, sorry.
You put them up in the air and make them go intercept the jet, not shoot it down, but you put a fighter aircraft in the airspace with the hijacked airliner. It's FAA routine procedure. It doesn't require an order from the President of the United States. Remember Payne Stewart? Remember his airplane? Remember it went off course? It was off course for no more than 10 minutes, and fighter jets had been scrambled to fly along beside it. Now, if we have 4 simultaneous hijackings, why were no planes scrambled to intercept those planes for 75 minutes? The Andrews Air Force Base website has taken down information saying that it maintained a ready response scramble force to protect the skies over Washington, D.C. A presidential order is not necessary to intercept an aircraft. It is necessary to shoot down an aircraft. And yet the government has committed a lot of lies. Dick Cheney has lied about U.S. Air Force response. I used to work outside Andrews Air Force Base. I saw F-16s, F-18s, F-15s taken off all the time.
So they took down that site?
They have changed the site. It has been archived and saved. If you go to my website, go to the articles, you can get links to the way it used to read. Okay? All right. September 13th. China is admitted to the World Trade Organization after 15 years of unsuccessful attempts. The vote was taken. It was just ratified about a week ago, but that was the vote. Nobody noticed. September 15th, the New York Times reports that Mayo Shattuck III, the head of A.B. Brown in the United States, resigned effective immediately without explanation. The insider trading, September 15th was the first day that the stock market opened after the attacks. September 29th, the San Francisco Chronicle reports that 2.5 million in put options on American Airlines and UAL are unclaimed. This is the result of the suspension in trading. Nobody showed up to claim it. October 10th, the Pakistani newspaper Frontier Post reports that Ambassador Wendy Chamberlain has called on the Pakistani oil minister. The pipeline is now a go. Mid-October 2001, the Dow Jones is back up near 10,000 as a result of the massive looting, outpouring of cash. Gonna love this one. One of my dearest causes in the whole world, I have a couple of monthly columns in magazines, one of which is High Times, believe it or not. And, that's a strange thing for an ex-narc who hasn't had a beer or a joint. I've had no mind-altering chemicals in 18 years. It'll be 19 in January. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I work a lot with men in recovery. I've written more than 30 articles on the subject of drug addiction and recovery for the U.S. Journal of Drug and Alcohol Dependence, and I can tell you that drug addiction is a medical, social, and spiritual problem. It is not a criminal problem. And one of the most frightening things that I saw in the wake, and we're going to wind this up here, and I'm going to hit you with everything that I got. One of the most frightening things that I saw in the wake of the attacks was a story that showed right here, this is from the New York Post, that the two companies, most of you know that some 30 to 40% of the prison inmates in this company are housed by private corporations who trade their stock on Wall Street based upon the number of human beings that they're housing in prison. That's what our economy has evolved into. We are a search and destroy economy. A snake eating its own tail is not nutritious, yet that's what we're doing. And I saw that the stocks of these two companies, Corrections Corporation of America and Wackenhut, went up 300% in the, 2 weeks after the attacks. And not only that, you read this story, and there was an urgent request outside of the budget for 40,000 new prison beds. That's before the next year's budget. Now, does anybody here think there are 40,000 Islamic terrorists in this country? Who are those beds for? I'll tell you when I get there, you know? Okay? But the Bureau of Prisons budget request next year is supposed to ask for something, and this is not confirmed, but I've heard on the order of 400,000 new prison beds. Maybe more.
Do you have that on your site?
What I just showed you was in one of the issues of the newsletter on the site, yes. Now, in January of this year, when the Bush administration took office, these are the folks that brought us savings and loan with Lockheed Martin, DynCorp, looting $2 trillion out of the Department of Defense, $59 billion out of HUD. That's to sustain this bubble, to maintain the grip on power of this CFR trilateral group that has taken us into a war for Central Asian oil before the age of oil ends. And in January I said, they're going to go after Social Security. You mark my words. The savings and loan was just a warm-up. And here I find this story, or this letter, written to the Honorable Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who is the head of the President's Commission to strengthen, Newspeak, Orwell, strengthen Social Security. And the letter is from two members of Congress. It's from Henry Waxman, I don't have the second page, and one other member of Congress. And you know what they're saying? You've locked us out of your meetings. You're having closed-door, classified meetings on Social Security. We're the members of the Ways and Means Committee that are charged with Social Security oversight, and you have locked us out of the meetings. Does that scare you? It scares me. They've just been writing letters so far. Hey, listen, I'm going to come to this, but, there's a few bright lights on the hill. They aren't fully bright yet, but there are some people speaking out. And in the wake of the total assault on American civil liberties, Patrick Leahy, forgive me, had the temerity to write 6 letters to Attorney General John Ashcroft demanding that he testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee on such matters as military tribunals and Ashcroft's unilateral decision to begin wiretapping attorney-client conversations in terrorist cases. And he said, I demand that you respond to me in writing. I think it was by the 13th. Well, he got a response in writing, but it was an anthrax letter. You notice they're only going to Democrats? All right, now let's look at this. H.R. 3162, the Patriot Act. Hey, let's hear it for the Patriot Act. Now it's group therapy. That's good. Okay. In the most recent issue of From the Wilderness, we covered some of the highlights or the lowlights of this bill. And I want you to listen to me very closely. This is your Constitution. We're coming now to pay the bill